So what I want to do in this video is I want to show you the application I've been working on for since last week Wednesday. The name of the application is called PondSocket. PondSocket is a socket server application that allows multiple people to connect to the same server and send information themselves in real time and send information to the server as well, all in real time. Um, well, as you know, if you are a developer, you obviously know that there are multiple socket server applications that exist. And so the question becomes, why did you decide to build your own? Well, I have been looking at the applications that exist so far, and most of the applications that exist in JavaScript, because obviously there's other applications that exist in other languages that do the work that I was trying to achieve here. In JavaScript, the applications that exist depend on a callback, on a very huge callback. And now this callback is all written inside this on connection event. So once the connection of the client comes in, then you can do all of the logic you want to do on this client. I find this a little bit limiting because, well, you have to do complex. Imagine if you wanted to do something really complex, you have to do all of this inside the same callback. So the callback just keeps growing, and then you keep adding more information, and it keeps expanding even further, and it becomes difficult to read later on. And this is just not a problem with Socket.io; it's also a problem of what is it called, Sock.js, where you can see the same on connection and it's doing the same thing. So it's a problem that I was having trouble like figuring out why someone else figured out something else better. And I was like, okay, let's look at how the normal HTTP paradigm is in, you know, JavaScript. And if you look at Express, so if I look at Express.js, now if I can look at the APIs, you can see that the application is different. The servers are different. So sorry, not when you get a request, you get the request on which address are you getting the request on? Well, I'm getting the request on slash, so localhost slash or whatever, and then you get your request object and you get your response objects. You are not worrying about a lot of things. You're not worrying about, okay, where is this coming from, how is this happening, or no, it's just all being handled. And then what you do is you get the request, and then in your response object you have functions of things you can probably do. You can send a message, you can do .json, you can do a lot of things from the response, right? So that's how it's done. It's now makes it easier for you to write. So when you're writing something concerning slash, you do slash and then you're done. You write something concerning something else, you do that and then you're done. If you are writing now, so let's imagine that you wanted to do the same thing for here. You can see that this is on a meet on a read basic emit. You do this on a meet. This you do it all inside the same function, which is too crazy. But here you have your slash. You can also have your slash dude or slash whatever underneath, which is all isolated one from the other. Makes it easy for you to read, makes it easy for development to continue. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, this is what I want for PondSocket. And let me show you what PondSocket looks like. So this is PondSocket here. Yeah, I know I'm using Express. I'm using Express here because I want to link the two applications together because I want to show some functionality. Normally, you can actually just create PondSocket like this without any server in between, and the PondSocket would be created and it will do whatever it needs to do. But in this case, I want to link it to Express because I want to show you guys something that I'm working on or some use case of, PondSocket. As you can see, this is my Express handlers. You can see this the slash get. You can see this slash get test, and you can see when you send a message to slash test, you get hello world. But when you send a message to slash test, you get welcome to the test page. So you can tell that there are two different pages. They are both isolated, right? That's the same thing with Pond. As you can see here, Pond creates and you can use the create endpoint function on the Pond class. So with this endpoint function, now you can actually specify on which path the class should accept the socket connection. So imagine if someone comes to slash test with your on your endpoint, you can say, okay, this is how I want to authenticate it. If it comes to slash, public or slash admin, if it comes to slash admin, for example, for example, you can say something like, if you don't have the auth or JWT token, then I would just not accept. If you have the information, then I would accept you. So with different paths, you can do different things. One thing you need to know though is every path is isolated. So someone that comes into the slash test path cannot communicate with someone that came into the slash admin path, for example, because, well, if you chose to create multiple paths, then you knew why you decided to do so, and you wanted to keep them isolated. So they are isolated. Another thing that you need to know is your paths can be either strings or regexes. So here you can see that is it's a string, but if I decided to write the same thing with a regex, I can do something like and it will still do the same thing, except the problem now is it might catch whatever comes after it. So I don't want it to catch that. I can just do, okay, I want it to be, I want it to catch only /test. So now with this, it will catch only /test, and you can tell that you're just writing a normal regex to handle the same path, just like you're writing the string. So it depends on what you want. If you want a regex, you can use a regex. If you want a string, you can use a string. It's all dependent on you. Now, when you get in here, unlike this other applications where it is like, okay, on socket.connect, what do? You do connection or whatever. There's no, I don't even know, like it's complex. Here, what you do is, okay, res.accept. Okay. Now you can either accept the connection or you can reject the connection, which is here. So when you reject the connection, you have to say why. So there's a string here that says, okay, what's the message you're sending to the client for you rejecting the connection? You provide that rejection here. Now, when someone joins, you assign something to them. You don't necessarily need to do so, but it's advisable, especially if you want to track a user. So imagine it as a kind of a cookie that's saved on the server. So it's like a session for each user, right? But nothing is stored on the client. Everything is stored on the server. So you can assign like things like, okay, this is their username, or this is their email address, or let's say this is their subscription or whatever. You can store all of this in this assigns here. So I can say, let me see what I can add. No, I don't want to add connection time. Let me say subscription plan. Okay, if you can't get that from the regular subscription, but obviously you can do something like, maybe go to the database based on the authorization they gave you in the header. You do all of that and get the information. So you can just put in subscribe test. I'm going to leave it as test for now. So you have a test subscription. Okay. Now you've created an endpoint. Think of an endpoint as a school where multiple students come to school. There are students in the school, there are teachers in the school. But the teachers don't teach the students in the school. The teachers teach the students in a classroom in the school. So that's what your channel is. Your channel is a classroom in the school where a certain student can come and then communicate with other students or communicate with the teacher. Yeah, there's no teacher here. Everybody's equal, but I'm just trying to make an example. Okay. Okay, maybe the teacher could be the server if you want. So communicate with the students, communicate with the teacher as well. And then you have all this communication going on bilaterally. So you can have multiple students talking at the same time, multiple teachers, and then everything is just one teacher because it's only one server again. What else did I want to add? On this channel, right, you can see how the channel is different from the endpoint, because the endpoint creates an endpoint, and then this endpoint can create a channel. Obviously, this endpoint can do other things. This endpoint can contact every socket so for example, the principal can contact every student in the school through the megaphone at the school, and then he can also do other things. He can suspend a user, he can expel a user from the school. Basically, all of this is doable. You can do something like endpoint dot close, and then you provide the client's ID, and then you close the clients from the whole endpoint and all of those things. Now when imagine you're a student, right? And then you go into the wrong class. The teacher should be able to say, no, this is not the class you're supposed to be in. Go to your class. This is for, let's say, grade 3, and you're in grade 4 or you're in grade 2. So you're in the wrong place. Go to your class. That's what happens here. So when you create a channel and someone attempts to join your channel, remember, this is also a string or a regex. So I'm using string because I want to be specific in the sense that I want to show you guys what's supposed to happen. But you can use a regex as well. So basically, if someone tries to join the channel and the channel called test, you can do some kind of things on you can do some authentication here as well to say, okay, this person has the right to join this channel. So for example, let's say I was storing, so I can say something like if rec I can type if rec dot assigns, right, dot subscription, I think that's what it's called, subscription is not equal to test, right? If it's not equal to test, I can do something like, okay, res.rejects and then I say invalid subscription, right? And then you can see, so basically it's just the same thing. I can reject, I can accept, I can do whatever I want with every user. So basically there's authentication, not quite, but there's control over every option that's happening here. Imagine you can have your full on database calls, you can do a lot of things here and then get a lot of information here. You can even assign more information to the user here. Now here what I'm doing is I'm assigning the room name to this place. So for example, if you had something like a regex here, for example, so let me do that. Imagine that this was a regex, right? And the regex was no, it's just test, right? Okay, so you have a regex called test. You don't necessarily know, it could be test 1, it could be test seek or test hyphen whatever. So you don't actually know the name of the room, and maybe you wanted to track the room by something. You can actually provide this information to the room. So you can say rec dot channel name, and then you get the channel information, and you provide that as the as some information I want to put in the channel. You can also, for example, count each user that's here. So you can say you can say something along the line of, let me see, okay, users is equal to rec, let me see, rec dot client assigns. Do I have channel information here? I don't think so. So you don't have channel information here, but you can do something like this. Okay, so when a user joins the channel, so let's joined be equal to 0, right? So you can say joined plus, I think. Exactly. So you can keep, for every new user that joins the channel, you update the channel's data. So you don't necessarily need to do this, but I'm just showing you that you can store information in the channel itself. You can store information in the user. You can store information everywhere. Now I need to explain something. So here you can see that there's an assign and then there's a presence. So what's the difference between a presence and an assign? Well, I want you to think of assigns as an identification, like something you use to identify a user. So you can maybe have their username, their email. Just think of everything that like you store in a cookie. So instead of storing it in a cookie, you store it in the assigns, right? And then for the presence is the current user state. So is the user typing? Is the user online? Is the user away? These are the kind of things you want to store in presence, the things that you want the other people to be able to tell, like, okay, the user has done this or the user has done that. And when those modifications happen, this presence informs other users, like, okay, this user is typing or this user is doing this. And so you don't need to necessarily worry about it. So that's why I say use presence for information of the user state, and then use assigns for identification of the user. Okay, now let's go down. Also, you can see that I have a endpoint call here. What I'm doing here is I'm just saying, okay, if the number of users that have connected to any class, okay, that have connected to the class, no, if the number of users that has connected to this /test endpoint channels, because there are multiple test channels that can be here, test 1, test whatever. So for as many users as joined, if the users that have joined are more than 1, then you should emit a hello world message to all of them. So every user in every channel that's connected to this endpoint. So not just this precise channel, every channel. If you wanted to broadcast to just this precise channel, you can do something like channel, and then you can do broadcast to channel. Channel ID comes in the event, I think. Rec dot, I think I have channel ID, exactly. So you have the rec.channel ID and provide the channel ID to the so it can broadcast to that channel precisely. But if you wanted to broadcast to the endpoint, you can do it the way it was written before. So basically you can contact the channel, you can contact the endpoint, you can do a lot of things. Now let me show you where it becomes cool. So you can see that this is a normal express request, where if you say /test param ID, you should do something. Now what I'm doing here is, because, okay, let me go back. If you look at this, actually, let's just, if you look at this, you can't necessarily get information about what's happening inside this unless you do something like hoisting, where you store the information out, and then from within here you modify the information outside. Because of how the whole paradigm is, you are always inside this callback, and everything happens inside this callback, and so you can't use this information outside the callback, which is kind of stupid. Here it's different. Here provide the ID of the channel that you're trying to find information on, and this channel should be able to give you all the information about that channel. So it's just think of it like a query, an SQL query sort of, where you connect to the channel and then you can do whatever you want. You can get the presence of this channel, so you can get all the user states in this channel, like their names, if they're online, if they're away. You can get the channel's data as well. You can do a lot of things with this channel. And then obviously this, again, like Express does it, which I find is really cool. You just res.status, like I'm doing res.accept and res.reject. It's just the same thing. Here's a second channel. I built this channel just to show that a user can join multiple channels at the same time, and then when there are multiple channels, they can send informations within themselves. They can't send informations, if I'm in one channel and you're in another channel, I can send information to you on that channel. But if we're both in the two channels, I can send information to you on this channel and I can send information to you on that channel, depending on how I choose to do it. So think of it as, on the endpoint level, when a user connects, they can't send information to anybody. They're just in the school. They don't talk in the school. When they go into their classes, they can talk within themselves in their classes. So that's what's happening here. So on the endpoint, you can't really communicate. All you can do is go to your class. But when you're in your class, which is a channel, you can communicate with other users in this channel. Okay. Now, this is called an event. What does an event mean? Think of it this way. Imagine that you are a teacher in a class and somebody raises their hand up. That's a raise hand event. So when a student raises their hand up, what do you need to do? You need to say, yeah, go on, ask a question, or no, you can't talk right now. And that is what this is. So when someone tries to talk in a classroom, you get this response, you get this event. Now what you can do is you can listen on this event, and you can choose to handle the events the way you want to handle it. You can choose to reject it, or you can choose to accept it. It's basically how it is. Again, because of when you are here, you don't necessarily know what channel the event is coming on. So you are just a teacher, you teach multiple classes. But when you're in the classroom and you get the event for this class, when the user raises their hand in this class, then you know who the user is. And that's why this internal channel has to be provided, so that you can be able to do even more things without actually providing the channel's ID. So with this one, you can actually you can do more things. So for example, here, imagine that a user has been being a bad boy, he's been making so much noise in the classroom. You can actually provide the channel ID into here, and then this internal channel will close the channel. You don't need to provide, you provide the user's ID and not the channel ID, because the internal channel already has the channel's information and it's already the channel itself. So that's how it works, because here it provides you with the channel. Here it provides you a generic of the channel, which is not one channel. It could be multiple channels. It could be just one channel, because here it could be multiple because it's a regex. But if it's a string, it's going to be obviously one channel. But yeah, since we don't know, it's going to be a generic of the channel. But when you get an event, it is definitely that channel that you're trying to connect. And in that channel, you can do whatever you want. You can, close from channel, broadcast to channel, do a lot of things to that channel without actually providing the client ID, because that information is already available in this channel. Okay. Now, this is the listen event, and you can see that I am using one server. The server is created here from HTTP, from Node's HTTP module. I get the client. I pass in the Express application because I want to use Express for my application, not necessarily because it's important. Again, if you don't provide the server, PondSocket will create a server, but I'm providing a server because I want to link the two of them together. Now, here I do the listen, and with this listen, all three servers listen to the same, or they all come up at the same time. So I'm passing in the port 8080, and all servers will pick up on that port and they will all listen to it, which means Express, which means PondSocket as well. Okay. Obviously, with the way it's built, things cannot happen the way they normally happen. You can't just send any kind of events, you can't send any kind of things, because, well, you have to be in a specific kind of order for it to work the way it's supposed to work. And this is the interface, or this is the type that a user can actually send. The type that a user can send a message to the server. So you can see that the action can be send a message, can be broadcast message, can be broadcast from. The difference between broadcast and broadcast from is, when you say broadcast from, you are not included in the broadcast. But when you say broadcast message, you are included in the message. So if you send broadcast from, you would not receive it. But if you send broadcast, you will receive the message you sent. Join channel, and then you can leave channel. and then you optionally have an event, and then you have the string that you want to join. So for example, if I wanted to join this room, you can see I'm doing the join channel, and then I'm doing test, and then payload is empty. If I'm leaving a channel, I'm leaving channel, and then leaving channel with channel, test, and then payload is also empty. And here is when I'm trying to send a message. I send a message by saying action send message to which event, test event on this channel, test as well. And now, so that means that if I'm waiting for the test event here, I can catch it and then do whatever I want to do inside it. Also, as you can see here, I'm going to console log this information just because I'm going to need it. And now, since I've spoken for a while, I would like to show you what the application looks like. Okay, so I have connected to the application, or the application has launched. Now I have options for all of this. It's going to be easy for me to just, copy and then paste and then show you what it looks like. To begin, I will move this guy here, and I will, okay, so before we do anything else, I will go to localhost 8080, sorry, 8080. Now I'm on, when I come to 8080 as specified here, I think, as specified here, you can see it is sending the message hello world. If I go into tests, it should show me test. It should show me welcome to the test space, like I said. Okay, now, even though all these servers are connected together, Pond is smart enough to know that this is an upgrade request. So it's a request to join a socket and not just to join not a HTTP GET request. So if you do that, Pond will actually catch your request and not the HTTP server. So it is the same /test, but it didn't go to Express. Instead, it came to Pond, and Pond got it. And here I can also join the same room. Now I'm just joining the channel. So you can see I've joined the channel on all three of them. They are all on the channel, on the server. Sorry, I should stop saying channel. They are all on the server, but they are not connected to anything. They can't communicate within themselves. They can't do anything. Now, the way you can do that is let me try and copy this. So here I'm going to join the channel. I joined the channel test, and if I join the channel now, okay, first of all, when you join a channel, you can see what happens. It sends you the channel's ID. It sends you the payload of, okay, this is what has changed. This is the ID that has changed, and this is the presence status online client ID, and it sends you all of the information for each channel that has joined. It sends you all of this presence information. Okay. Now, if a new channel joins the same room, you will both be updated on the new state of the channel's presence. As you can see here, this guy gets information like, okay, yeah, there are two people in this room, and this is their IDs, and this one gets, somebody new has joined. But notice that this guy also gets the hello world message. The reason this guy did not get it is because when this message was sent, he hadn't yet joined the room. He was just attempting to join. So if you remember, the hello world message is sent here just when you send the res.accept. So this message is broadcasted before this message is sent. So you can tell that, this guy will not get the message, but this guy will get it. Now, if I joined here, both of them get the message, and this guy also gets the hello world. Okay. Now that we are all here, I can also, remember, I'm console logging I think it's here. I'm console logging the join request on the channel. So you can see it here. So this is request, and you can see what the request looks like. You're getting the client ID, you're getting the channel ID, you're getting the channel name as well. You are also getting the client assigned. So you're getting the connection, and we're getting the subscription, which is test. Remember, we did this here. So we're getting the connection, and then we get the subscription test. This is your client assigns for each client that you create. Okay. Now, with this, we have the channel ID here now. Okay. And if you remember, we built something on Express where if you said / where did I write that function? If I wrote /test / the channel's ID, I should get information about the channel. So let's test it. So I'm here, /test / and then I put in this information, and you can see now it gives me the name of the ID of the channel. It gives me the message, which is hello world, like I wrote here. It gives me the presence of the users in the channel. You can see I have 3 users in the channel, status online, for all 3 of them, and then I have the channel data as well. Okay. Now, just to continue moving forward, I'm going to move on to the next thing. What I want to do here is um, I want to show you the room message when you try to send a message through the room. So for example, now, okay, first thing we want to do is we want to leave the room. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, so let's assume one of these users want to go out. Yeah, you've been bothering me, so I decide to leave the room. These two guys get the message that, yo, this guy has left the room. But notice this guy did not leave the socket. He's still on the socket connection. He can decide to, in any second, join the room again. But now that he's left the room, if a message is sent within this room, he will not get it. So if I try to, yeah, it wouldn't work. I need to do broadcast. Okay, so I'm going to do this. If I send this, right, just as it is, I will get an error message back. It tells me you haven't provided all the information, because if you're sending a message, you have to tell the server who you're sending the message to. But if you broadcast the message, everyone will get it. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to just broadcast this message. I didn't think of that when I wrote that code. Broadcast. So if I broadcast the message, I get the message "Hello World" from mail. Go out. So I get the message "Hello World" and I get the channel name test. I get all of the information down. This guy gets the information as well. But this guy did not get the information because he was no longer in the room. If, however, I rejoin the room here, okay, and then I send the same message again, he gets it now. Everybody gets the message. Okay. I can also remember we had a test event here. So we had a test event where we would console log 35 rec and the channel gets data. So let's go look at that. So when you can see it's 35, you get the test and then you get the channel information. You can see that there's the client ID, but there's no assigns and there's no presence. And then you get the what am I trying to say? You get the presence like it's listed here, so you can see the presence of the users in the channel online, all three of them online. You can see all their IDs, just like it's written here, and then you do your res accept. So basically what I'm trying to show you is this application allows you to code in the same way you would code an express function or an express program or any program. It still allows you to do the same socket things that you would do, have multiple sockets connect to themselves, have multiple sockets discuss within themselves. There's sure a small difference in the way the message has to look like. So you can see that this is what a joined message has to look like. This is what a leave message has to look like. And you can do this. All of this information is based on this. So this is the message that you can send from the server. And in my documentation that I'm going to try to create, you would also see the server's response. Now, it is built to work with just the classic WebSockets. So it accepts any WebSocket connection. It's just the message you're going to send has to fit this pattern. This information is going to be made available so that anybody can see it and anybody can do it. What else do I want to say before I go? Well, this, I think that's about it. So this is my application. It is still very buggy, but I'm also a worker. So I'm how do you say it? I am employed, or I have a job, and I work most of the days, and so I'm only free, in the evening or during the weekends. And so I've not really spent as much time as I would like on this program yet. I'm just building it because I feel like it is something that we need. It is currently available on NPM. The problem is there is no README on it, and so I'm still just trying to figure some stuff out. When I figure this stuff out, I would provide the information to you. But for now, I would just say hold on for a little longer. We'll get the information to you as soon as we can. Or as soon as I can. It's only me working on this application for now. Anyway, thank you very much for staying up till here. I don't know how long this video will be, but yeah, hopefully it's not so long.